Today's October 2nd, 2024. As a preliminary matter, this is Woody Knight, Chair of the Newbury Planning Board. Permit me to commit that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Planning Board members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Peter Pecos,
Yes.
Larry Murphy,
Yes.
Mary Stone,
Here,
Scott Kinter. Scott, you're muted, but I can see you. Nice to see you. Steve Mangian.
Yes.
Yep, okay, very good. Town staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Kristen Grubbs.
yes,
Anticipated speakers, presenters on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. TJ Melvin from Millennium Engineering.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Good evening. It's October 2nd, 2024. Opening meeting of the Newbury Planning Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, which extends the governor's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law until March 31st, 2025. For this meeting, the Newbury Planning Board is convening by video conference via Zoom, as posted on the Planning Board's agenda, which can be found on the town's website, which identifies how the public may join. You may join us by going to http://zoom.us and entering meeting ID number 832-7141-3056. And the passcode is 108790. Or by calling in 1-929-205-6099 US and entering the meeting ID number and passcode when prompted. For Zoom meetings, please note that this meeting is being recorded and that attendees are participating by video and or telephone conference. The meeting is also being broadcast live through local access cable channel 9 on Zoom and at www.tnctv.org. And the recording will be available at the Newbury Access YouTube channel. Meeting business ground rules. Before we turn to the first item on the agenda, permit me to cover some ground rules. As chair, I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After speakers conclude their remarks, I will go down the list of board members, inviting each by name to provide any comments, questions, or motions. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. So that's that. First item on the agenda this evening is old business. We have TJ Melvin from Millennium Engineering, 3 Newburyport Turnpike, owner Bavaro Family Realty 2 LLC. And this is for a request for modifications to approved site plan to add sidewalk, retaining wall, and a transformer pad. So TJ, would you like to update the board on what the status is of the site?
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. TJ Melvin with Millennium Engineering. It's been maybe about a month and a half since we were last in front of the board. Since then, we've filed a new notice of intent with the Conservation Commission as the order of conditions had expired on the site. As part of that filing, we're also including the amendment to show the retaining wall and walkway to the rear of the property and the transformer pad. We've had 2 hearings with technically 3 hearings with the Conservation Commission to this point. We've also had a site walk, which I know Woody was able to attend. At that site walk, we were asked to start writing a draft order of conditions, which we had sent in to the conservation agent. One of the items that they had asked at the site walk was to install additional erosion control along the limit of work line, which the contractor has already put in place, and to re-verify the wetland line along the rear property boundary, which we have also completed as well. And then we had one comment from DEP asking to install erosion control mats along the downhill slope most adjacent to the wetland. I know most of you probably hasn't seen them as we submitted them to Kristen today. Revised plan set, which I understand that the board, doesn't want to take anything, unless it's a week ahead of the meeting. But that's kind of the information that was updated on that plan set. The only other change that we made was in response to Joe Sawaka's comment that the walkway along the southern portion of the building didn't fully extend to one of the egress doors, so we made that change in that set as well. We were anticipating getting approval from conservation last night, however, we did not have a quorum, so therefore we had to ask for continuance to the next meeting. I'd be happy to address any questions the board may have, or I can pull up plans if you guys want to look at anything specific. Again, I fully understand that you guys haven't had a chance to see any of the plans that were submitted today, so with that, I'll answer any questions.
Okay, great. So we got plans that I haven't seen them, so that they definitely haven't, and no one else has seen them on the board. Kristen, what's the status with Joe Sawaka?
Yeah, so the plans you guys saw aren't fundamentally different than what was submitted today, but yeah, I haven't forwarded what was received today with those couple updates that TJ mentioned, so I'll do that. So those were some of those updates were a response to Joe's review of the previous plan set. So we need to get those back to Joe and get him to give another comment letter back to the board, letting you all know if he's satisfied or if he has any additional questions. So I can, transmit those administratively if the board would like me to do that.
Good. Does anyone on the board have any questions for TJ at this time? Hearing none. I guess we'll deal with the peer review from Joe. And conservations needs to weigh in on this matter, and they'll have another meeting in 2 weeks. And I guess we will continue this to our next meeting. Does that have to go a motion and a vote, Kristen? Or is
No, I don't think so. I think as soon as I get comments back from peer review, I'll share them, and if, hopefully we'll get them in time for to be on the next agenda, if that works for
Yep.
for
okay?
the applicant.
All right, sounds great. Thank you, TJ, and we'll see you at the next meeting, okay?
Well, he's on for the next
Great, thank you all.
project too.
Yep. Oh, yeah, nope, sorry about that. Now on to new business. We've got TJ from Millennium Engineering for 68 Green Street, owner Crane Properties. Request for approval of the as-built plan and request for release of bond for Farm View Lane. So, what's the status on this one, TJ?
Good evening, everyone. Again, TJ Melvin from Millennium Engineering. So at this point, the applicant has completed all of the work on site. All of the houses have been sold, and at this point, we're requesting a final release of all the bonds. I believe there are 2 separate ones, and acceptance of the as-built plan to close out the whole definitive plan process. I know we've had several site meetings with Martha, and I believe Kristen, you had come out to some of the last few ones. I've met Joe out there several times as well. Just trying to come up with, different little solutions if there was an issue with stormwater or, little tweaks in the field. So at this point, the grass is in, the landscaping's in. Again, all the houses are sold, and we're just looking to close out the bonds and get final approval of the as-built.
All right, and you've submitted the as-built, correct?
Correct.
All right, so we need to submit that to Joe, Kristen?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll do
Yeah.
that. And there's a site walk there on Saturday with the conservation. So the conservation still has to weigh in on that, and that meeting will be in 2 weeks. And if they're satisfied with the improvements, we'll get you on the agenda for this. For 68 Green Street, on our next meeting. I'm not sure of the date, but it's in 2 weeks.
Awesome. Yeah, and Kristen, if Joe wants, I can meet him out there and we can walk it together, or he can reach out to me if he wants for any other information or anything. So just let me know. I'd be happy to
Great.
walk it with him.
And Woody, when is the conservation, when's that site walk?
I believe, I don't have my notes in front of me, I'm sorry, but I believe the site walk for 68 Green Street is Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. If it isn't, it's because there's another site walk and I wrote them down so I could go back and look.
Yeah, I
There's,
couldn't remember if it was Tuesday or Saturday. I know. the
Yeah,
commission
there's
had some
one,
back and
there's one
forth.
on the 8th as well. The 8th at 8, but I believe that is the Parker River, 286 or something, High Road, Parker River. And like I said, I don't have my notes in front of me, but it's either Saturday or on the 8th. So-
I think Mason thought it was on Saturday for the commission. I
Okay,
don't
so
know if any of the planning board members who haven't been on the property, I know some of you have pretty recently, but I certainly am willing to ask the commission if you might be able to join that, or.
Yeah,
Darren's
I
interested.
haven't been there. I mean, I could, that's why I asked. I mean, if they're gonna be out there Saturday, I can certainly join if appropriate.
All right, Scott, I will check and Kristen will check and we'll shoot you a note to confirm that it's this Saturday at 9. So you can be there. All right,
Thank you.
yep.
Yeah, I
So-
think that's perfectly normal for boards to wanna, see the final before the as-built comes back for final review. So if it doesn't work on Saturday, we can find another time, I think.
Okay. Yep, and it'd be great, Scott, to get your eyes on it, because I believe everybody else on the board was there. We had a site walk there a few months ago, so, or earlier this summer.
Great.
All right, well, thank you, TJ. We'll see you at the next meeting. I'll see
Thank
you
you.
at the site walk.
Thank you.
All right, and next on the agenda, we had Bob Grasso, but the submission, they've asked that they don't appear tonight, and they've withdrawn the submission, so we'll pass on that. Next thing on the agenda, liaison and meeting reports. We'll start with Larry, if you would, CBA.
Yeah, actually, I don't have anything to report, Woody. They had to cancel their last meeting for lack of a quorum, so
Okay,
that's
it
it.
happens.
Yep.
Very good. Conservation Commission, we met last night. Unfortunately, I don't have my notes in front of me, but I do recall the things that pertain to us was 68 Green Street. We just discussed that. They're gonna have a site walk on Saturday and reconvene at their next meeting. Three Newburyport Turnpike, they asked for continuance. So we'll have that at the next conservation meeting. And then the Sunset Club, which is 2-8 Old Point Road. They requested a continuance as well, so we'll see them in 2 weeks at the conservation meeting. So other than that, I do not recall anything else that pertains to our board. Kristen, MVPC?
Yeah, so I, after a summer hiatus, both the MVPC commissioners as well as the MVPC planners groups met this month. So I attended my first meeting as commissioner, so that was enjoyable. And It was on Zoom, but still enjoyable. So I didn't get a free lunch, but maybe next time. And then the planners meeting was held the following week. So those will be monthly now for the sort of school year. MVPC is super busy. They're just doing incredible regional work. They're getting a lot of grants to support their programming. But so a couple highlights. They're doing a lot of GIS work. They have some really great new viewers on their website, and I can send around links. There's a lot on the website, so sometimes it's a little hard to find, but they have a viewer that has gathered all the demographic data for the region and town by town, and you can like choose how to sort the information. You can look at, you know, age brackets or economic, socioeconomic data, all sorts of really cool ways to view and aggregate different data. So this will be a really great tool for the towns, particularly in writing grants, where you're sort of making the case for a certain program. They're also,
Did they, excuse me, did they develop that themselves?
yeah, it's using, I can't remember now, there are two sets of data. I think it's using the, not the census data, but there's another American ACS, American Census Survey. But yeah, they have a really high powered GIS team.
Right.
It's definitely pretty cool to look at. They also are in the process, I think Martha mentioned this a few months ago, but they're in the process of redoing the whole MyMap, which is on each town website that shows all the assessors and parcel data and all the different state, you know, data layers. They're sort of that hasn't been like a overhaul in many, many years. I think they would have had that out more than 15 years. So that's in the works, but it's they've had a lot going on. So that'll be coming in the next few months. They have a new tool for their environmental program, which is a predictive monitoring, like an early alert for combined sewer overflow. So they have a map of the river, and when there is an event or in anticipation of weather events that come, you can look and there's like points on the map that say whether there's any concern about E. coli or other dangers at public access points to whether it's boating or swimming or whatever. So it's a predictive monitoring of E. coli on the Merrimack River, but it comes all the way down into Newbury and into the basin on Plum Island. So that's pretty cool. They also have been doing a lot of energy planning regionally. So they have a new, again, a viewer. It's called REPA, Regional Energy Planning Assistance. And again, you can sort by town to see where electric vehicle chargers are. You can see how many electric vehicles are in the town. You know, fun factoid for you all. Well, I should play a little poll. How many electric vehicles do you think are in the town of Newbury, are owned by residents in the town of Newbury? I'll say like under 200. Raise your hand.
Wait, what's the prize?
Okay, the prize is just victory on this Zoom recorded forever.
Bragging rights.
So what's the first one?
Okay, we'll do parameters, 0 to 250, 250 to 500, 500 to 750, or more than 750. So 0 to 250. Couple, yeah, 2 or 3, 4. Oh, that's a lot. 250 to 500. 500 and up. Anybody? I think everybody's voted.
No, everyone's voted.
I think
Scott's
he
voting
voted
for all
Oh,
three.
Scott's voting every time.
He's gonna
That's
Somebody
not
voted
allowed.
twice.
So of the 6,700 vehicles that are registered in Newbury, there are 549 that are electric.
Now, are
Wow.
those hybrids or pure electric?
I don't know. I'm assuming it's all electric, but could be hybrid, probably anybody that plugs in.
That
So
was
not
500
like
and what?
hybrid / electric, not just hybrids.
It's 8+%.
That was 500 and what?
549.
That's
Wow.
good,
Yeah, I was surprised.
very good.
I am too.
What else? There are 2 regional studies that are open for public comment right now. So I've made news alerts on the website, but I'll send it around again. They're both open until October 16th. One is the Vision Zero plan, which we are going to have Elizabeth Mulderry come back to a planning board meeting to present that. Unfortunately, we weren't able to schedule it during this public comment period. So inviting you all to take a look at it, and then we can have a discussion at a later date. So that's the roadway safety analysis of the region, town by town, looking at priorities in terms of eliminating injuries and crashes due to safety issues. It's also called Safe Streets and Roads for All.
You know, 0 is an awfully tough standard to ever meet.
I know,
Just a general comment.
yeah. I think it's a federally funded program, so it's, yeah, but
Well,
it's
that explains it, why it's 0.
even harder. Yeah, and the other plan is called Merrimack Valley Moves, and it's the active transportation plan, so active transportation is defined as any movement that's human powered. So walking, biking, scootering. So looking at regional priorities in terms of improvements and how to encourage active transportation with a side benefit, all sorts of public health benefits, of course, but side benefit of reducing personal vehicle use in the region. So that plan just was released a couple weeks ago, and I'll send around a notice about that. And then just to note, the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission is celebrating its 65th anniversary. They're celebrating that in conjunction with with MEVA, which is the transit agency for the region, who's celebrating their 50th birthday. So they're celebrating together. The public are invited. It's October 17th from 5 to 8 p.m. It's going to be a meeting and a party, and it's being held in Methuen at the Merrimack Valley Golf Club. So that'll be exciting. They're excited about it. So that's it from MVPC update.
Thanks, Kristen.
Very, very good. Thank you, Kristen. Okay. Next thing on the agenda is the September 2024 financial report. Planning Board Financial Report, September 2024, payroll and invoices authorized. Payroll warrants for Planning Director and Special Projects Planner. A PR 25-6 for pay period ending 9/21/24. And then escrow accounts, Joe Shawaka, construction inspections, Cricket Lane, 9/8/24. Joe Shawaka, construction inspections, 3 Newburyport Turnpike, 9/17/24. Joe Shawaka, construction inspections, Newbury Golf Center, 131 Scotland Road, 9/20/24. And that is a financial report. Next thing on the agenda. The planners director's report. Planning director's report.
Thanks. I'll just talk with a few more items, perhaps of interest. One is made an offer for an assistant planner, super excited. Daniel LaRue will be, I'm sorry, I think I mispronounced that, Daniel LaRoe, ROE. He's a staff planner in Salem currently. He's been working there for a bunch of years and is looking to get involved in a community where he can, you know, be involved in a whole bunch of things. And I assured him this was a good town for that because a lot of things come through the planning department here. And so super excited. Daniel's be starting the end of October.
That's great,
Great,
Kristen. Good for
good
you.
news.
Yeah.
Very good.
And we had a number of really good candidates. So just, you know, want to thank everybody who did apply. Let's see. So there are a couple other meetings all on that same night I just mentioned, which is Thursday, October 17th. If I could be in 3 places at the same time, I would want to be on that night. So besides the MVPC celebration, there's a really great presentation being held by Storm Surge and the Newburyport Resiliency Committee. It's a couple staff members from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. And they're talking about specifically geared towards private homeowners. So understanding your flood risk and real, you know, proactive strategies for helping buildings be more resilient to flood risk. So certainly it's something I think we've all been talking about for a long time, but in particular this week in terms of everything that our southern neighboring states are going through. It feels really important that we all, I think, educate ourselves and really think about different ways that we can be faced by flooding, because these big rainstorms are not going away anytime soon. So that event is Thursday, October 17th at 7 o'clock, and it's being held at the Newburyport Senior Center at the Community Center. And then the other one, of course, the same night, but it's actually at 6 o'clock, so maybe you could sneak them both in. The Greater Newburyport Housing Choice Coalition monthly meeting is Thursday night. It's held hybrid, so it's in person at the YWCA in Newburyport, but it's also online. And they have a really amazing guest speaker. Really exciting to get her up to this area. Her name is Amy Dane. And maybe those of you who have been involved in zoning for a while have heard of her, but she, her famous book was called Exclusionary by Design. So she has done a lot of research and a lot of data, and she's still working in Massachusetts, looking at the ways that zoning regulations enforce racial and class discrimination. So in particular, single family zoning over the decades. And again, she's a real data scientist. So it's pulling that data in and then talking about, you know, what we can do to address these issues in terms of zoning in particular, which not all of us think zoning is super exciting, but she makes it pretty relevant and interesting. So that again is the 17th at 6 p.m. At the YWCA in the Berkeley. Couple other things. I want to just give a shout out again to the Open Space Committee. They're really looking for new members. Really trying to get energized and dive into updating the town's open space and rec plan. We're still waiting to hear if we have been awarded a grant from the Community One Stop State program to support that open space plan update. But in the meanwhile, the group of people are meeting and really fun group and looking for new members. So if you know of anyone interested. one of the things we're working on is going to be establishing on the ground the trail at Caldwell Farm, which is a part of the open space subdivision that the planning board permitted many years ago. But it's been a plan, a trail on paper, but we're working with some of the open space committee members to get that going, and the town's public works department is going to help establish that, and there'll be a parking area and be open to the public. Working on that later this fall, so that's exciting. I think that's it. We have, I mean, there are a fair amount of permitting things, as you know, that are floating. I've had a couple inquiries about small A&R divisions of land that'll probably be coming in the next couple meetings. And in addition, some of the projects that still need closing up, Gadsden Lane subdivision, they're going to be submitting their as-built pretty soon, so that'll come to the planning board in the next, hopefully one of the next meetings. And 108 Main Street is still working its way through the Conservation Commission, but I've been keeping updated with John Colantoni, and he's still hoping to get restarted with that construction work in the spring, which is what he told the board a few months ago. So lots going on. Happy to answer any questions. I just talked a lot.
Kristen, does the planning board have any review requirements, relative to the Caldwell Farm trail? Or is it just a volunteer type of
So the trail, there is a trail easement that is held by the town through the Conservation Commission. So they're the entity that actually holds the conservation restriction and the trail easement on the property. So if there were questions about it, I think it would probably go through the Conservation Commission. In terms of just actually establishing it, it's already agreed upon and, in the plan. So both the homeowners and the town are in agreement about where it'll go. So it'll just be, we'll be keeping the homeowners association updated there for sure.
what's the timing on that? Is this like a year, 2 years away from seeing, a trail?
The hope is to get going with it before the snow flies and after the ticks and poison ivy abate a little. So I'm thinking November.
Gotcha. Okay. That's really
Some of the
exciting.
work's already been done.
Sorry, you were both talking.
Go ahead, Scott.
No, I just said it's exciting. This is long overdue. It's going to be great.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have, so there's a line on a map, and what we're working on now is getting it transferred into a GPS unit so we can go out on the property. We, not necessarily me, but collectively flag the route, and then the town's public works department will help with the clearing. And it's a pedestrian sort of low access kind of trail. It's not for horses or bikes, but it will be publicly accessible. That's my understanding. Steve, did you have a question?
Yes, what I gather from what you just said, it's clearing the area where the trail is going to be. There isn't any other design considerations that need to be addressed.
I think my understanding is this has been in the works for a long time, so any, in terms of permitting or review by the commission, in terms of where it goes, it's all set. That said, I don't know, there might be something that we run into on the ground that needs to be modified.
Right, I guess Joe Swerchek won't be reviewing plans. Maybe that's where I end up in terms of the interest of the planning board.
Mm-mm.
No, I don't think there'll be, there won't be any like grading or, gravel or like it'll be just kind of clearing a path is my understanding.
Sure. And once that's done, who's responsible for the maintenance to, keep the poison ivy down in succeeding years?
Yeah, I think it's the town. But I haven't reviewed that trail easement deed recently, so that's a good question.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any other questions? We'll move on. Kristen, you're done, right? Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, the only other thing I see on the agenda is planning board meeting minutes, and unfortunately, they're not quite ready to distribute to the board yet, so we're gonna pass on that this week. Well, they'll be ready for our next meeting. If anyone has anything else? Speak now, or I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
You have a motion.
You have a second.
Very good. Roll call vote. Peter,
Yes, sir.
Larry,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes, sir.
and Steve. How do you feel?
I feel good about it.
Okay, great. It was nice to see everyone, and have a good night, okay?
And how do you
Thanks,
vote, Woody?
Woody. Thanks, Kristen.
job.
Oh, I vote yes, definitely.
Yeah.